Hello and welcome everybody to the next GRL podcast, our 13th podcast of the current season. After, of course, a couple of some assumptions from preseason and our current races from Division 1 to 7. This week we were at Japan for round 11, at Suzuka to be accurate, and wow, some great races all over the grid. And I can't wait to go through all the action with a couple of guests. Dara sadly isn't here this week. He's chilling his life in Paris, but I guess that's fair enough while I'm doing all the work here. Um, yeah, let's first off start with the mixed here. This week at Suzuka, it was an interesting race. We didn't quite have a full grid, but in the end, it was Team Sora who could pick up the race win. Quite dominant performance by him. He seemed to like the Japanese Grand Prix track, the Suzuka International Circuit. Also, the only circuit which is kind of formed like an 8. Yeah, Blade was also really quick in the mixed race, but he spun off, meaning that Minico could finish second. Myself, I was third. And the Mercedes of Gasser Buchanan also looking good, but in the end, sadly, dropping down a few positions. Considering the championship, this means that Dara loses some ground due to not participating. I'll get close, and also Minico closes the gap slightly. Yeah, and the overall constructors also very interesting championship, and obviously one of the most important championships in the GRL season. We have Alpine now leading on 1,029 points from Williams, who are less than 15 behind them in second. So the Williams team definitely coping really well in the last couple of rounds. Ferrari then in third with already 75.5 points behind Williams. Then we've got Aston Martin only 4 points behind the Prancing Horses, with McLaren in P5, Red Bull only half point, 0.5 behind the Papaya team. Then we've got Mercedes in 7th, Alfa Romeo in 8th on 814 points, Haas only 9th, so they're really struggling in the last couple of rounds. And AlphaTauri, they're still in 10th, but due to some great results from them this week, they could claw back some points, I should say, and are now really closing down the midfield teams. And I think that's what we all want to see, considering the Constructors' Championship here, to make it all really close, and everyone still has everything to play for. But I think that's these Constructors and the mixed here summed up quite well. And now let's get into the actual race results and division standings, with a lot of action going on this week. So next up is Division 1, the first division of this podcast, as every week. And I've got Jim with me, going through all the divisions. And as said, Division 1, our championship leader could win the race. As you can see on screen, Team Sora, after picking up pole position, also wins the race with almost every lap led for the Red Bull driver. Blade picking up P2, so it's damage limitation for him as well. And Lone Retreat in the Ferrari picking up his first podium of the season, so that's definitely some delight for the Scuderia. Gary the Goat picking up P4 once more, so double P4 for him with Miami and Japan. B Ford keeping up his streak with P5. Partick finishing P6 despite having a little spin at the exit of the final chicane in the last couple of laps. Michael Dale in P7. Diego on his debut this season in P8. God of Gaming finishing in 9th. And NVR for the winner of the Miami Grand Prix in P10. So looking at the driver standings, you probably could say it didn't really change too much. While Sora extends his championship lead, Ford stays in second after not a great round for him, but still a P5, so still a couple of points for the Mercedes driver. Blade overtakes Strazzy once more, So the Williams drivers are still in the fight, while in the midfield it's close between Michael Dale, Rain, and the retired Ginger Ninja, who, due to some news in the paddock, will turn up once more for the next Grand Prix. So it'll be interesting if he can possibly gain a couple of points to his tally. And finally, looking at the team standings, Red Bull leads once more. They've repassed Williams after them overtaking them after the Miami race. So Sora and Michael Dale definitely doing well for the Austrian team. Williams in second, who've dropped Alfa Romeo due to Aaron and Alex not taking part. In the midfield, we've got Mercedes on 125 points, just ahead of Alpine on 111 due to Rain not having the best of rounds and a high-speed crash for him as well at Suzuka. McLaren then on 109 could have probably been clearly more points for them if Rage would have actually not bottled the race, but that's fairly unlikely. Aston Martin then on 90 points, Ferrari on 46, Haas on 35, and AlphaTauri on 29. And as said, I've got Jim with me tonight. Jim, welcome. You are one of the Division 1 commentators. You'll also go through all the action on stream next week at Australia. What do you make of the current situation in Division 1?
Well, there's been a lot of chopping and changing around the top end, just not that top spot. I mean, Sora's seemingly been he's been dominant since probably early December. I'm looking at it now. It's early December was the last time we had anyone besides Sora on that top spot, and he was level on points with them. He's just been on very consistently. He's been very consistently quick in comparison to the rest of the field. It seems even when he hasn't necessarily won a race, he still brings his car home in a high enough position, whereas his rivals, such as Rage, seemingly bottle very hard. But he keeps it pretty high up there, and he's definitely deserving of where he's currently sat in the standings.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Sora is also the only three-time winner this season, making it 3 wins, and with that is the leading scorer of race wins of this season, as Rain also had 2 wins. So as we're talking already about the top spot in the championship, we all want it to be an interesting season, but Sora is trying everything to avoid it. If you had to pick someone out of the rest of the grid, do you think there's someone who can actually challenge him? Because we still have 10 rounds left and a lot can happen there.
Well, I'd say B Ford, if he can start picking up that form again. He had if memory serves, he just had a decent round. How did he get on in the last round again?
I mean, in Miami, he scored his first podium with a 2nd place. And yeah, 5th now at Japan. So definitely not bad results. But considering Sora won 3 races, that's at least a 7-point gap per race there. And that's probably what it is between those two right now.
I mean, yeah, he has to have a race really go in his favour to get himself back up there. Basically, he's going to need a 0 points finish from Sora, and for him to win a race, he'll get right back up there, overtake him, or he just has to find a groove where he can just gradually claw those points back. He kind of has to reverse it. I mean, Blade, he had a good round. He's just hopped Jurazi. He's now on 115 points. He seems to be driving well, but again, it's not the pace that these lots struggle with. It's just the consistency that Sora has over them. He seemingly he's not really putting any feet wrong, if you know what I mean. He's not.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, it's pretty much it. Very good summed up, I would say, because we didn't talk too much about the championship battle yet, because there wasn't really a battle, because Sora had it all under control. But definitely, if B Ford picks up 1 or 2 wins, which seems to be his struggle for now, and maybe also a couple of pole positions because Qualis is a main struggle so far. I think we could have a very interesting Red Bull versus Mercedes, a battle up top, which could be very interesting come the end of the season, especially considering Sora is only 1.5 penalty points, which is a warning of the quali ban. So the neutral spectators probably are very interested in how's that gonna pan out. But enough from Division 1. I think let's move over to Division 2 where this week, and I can really gladly say, finally Distant wins a Grand Prix in GRL after having a puncture at Spain last season on the final lap, which cost him a 10-second lead and dropped him all the way down to 7th. I remember that Jim got taken out on a straight that race as well. Jackster completing a Alpine 1-2, only 7.5 tenths, I believe, behind his teammate, with Dylan Baxton third. The new GSR driver definitely proving his worth for the team. XRP in fourth, someone Jim also knows quite well, I believe, from our partner league BBC. Delta in P5, myself in P6, sadly behind Delta, even though he seems to be washed, but Lloyd in P7, Torpern in P8, Otto in P9, and Zeech in P10. Well, some of you might wonder where is Slappers here. Well, he's still ahead in the standings by quite a bit, but he's moved up until the next break, which is in 3 weeks' time, into Division 1. Formally agreed, as said, terms with the party of Slappers. And then he'll decide whether he continues his Division 2 or Division 1 campaign. So he'll definitely have a very interesting couple of weeks in Division 2 upcoming for us. And Cinity, who will broadcast that for you. So, driver standings. Slappers still leads with 184 points. Distant extends his gap over his teammate and is now on 118 points, with Jackster 111. So the Alpine drivers might be a bit close for comfort, considering their team boss, Amos Lloyd, after a terrible round for him, you have to say, after spinning on a safety car restart, owned on 86 points, which is Otto on 77, Punish on 65, myself, Atom on 63, Clever on 56, Delta on 52, and Dan on 48. So it's really, really close there in the midfield, and considering Slappers kind of disappeared for a couple of weeks, it seems like it's anyone's game, at least for a race win for now. And you can also see that on the team standings, Alpine now have overtaken Ferrari. They're now 25 points ahead of them, and then they've almost got a 100-point gap to third place Aston Martin. Got Red Bull 2 points behind. Mercedes is as well lurking with Alfa Romeo, Haas, Williams, McLaren, and AlphaTauri all at the back. Now starting with Division 2, it's basically one of the divisions you aren't too close, but you're technically racing there at some stage last season. Any thoughts on the results and standings here?
I see a few familiar faces in there. I've raced against quite a lot of them as well in various categories, leagues, whatever tournaments. There's a lot of quick drivers in here. At the moment, though, with that gap to Slappers, I mean, if you're saying he's being moved up temporarily, that might help the two Alpine drivers to start clawing that gap back down. But from what I've seen, I think there's a lot of drivers in there that can take it. It's just about whether they can have that level of consistency that Slappers seem to have of scoring those high positions since the start of the season. Obviously, I think we're about halfway through the season, aren't we now?
Yeah, just over. Yeah, 11 of 21.
Yeah, so they're gonna really have to start clawing back now, and they're gonna have to start pulling the punches, I think, on Slapbass, because he seems to be the only one so far that's really been attacking the championship standings. Just Bardo, with that win last week, is looking a lot better. now only around 60, 70 points behind. If Slapbus has this move up, then I mean he's got to start cracking down now and winning a few more than just the one race. I think if he's got any hope in bridging the gap. But yeah, it seems like a very quick tier.
Yeah, definitely. As said, the Alpines are now definitely gaining, and you would think with this kind of a gap, the drivers would probably realize that this championship isn't really on for them. But especially as some of our drivers obviously are streaming the races, you can really see that each of them they still believe that they can win the title. For example, when I had a look at Jax the streamer last time out, he was so annoyed not beating his teammate, which was very interesting. Considering he won the two races before. But yeah, I think that's also a good sign. And it is the closest division we currently have. I think we now had last 4-5 qualies, the top 10 always within 3/10, which is definitely a good sign. So yeah, that's pretty much Division 2 summed up. Gonna be very interesting. Who comes out on top next week? To chase down Slappers. And next up is Division 3. And I have to say this because Ham won. Yeah, that's one thing. But Jobbo got pole position. I mean, that's something. That's really something. It was wet, but still. But in the end, it was Ham who won the race from Fjorn and Jobbo in third, F1XL Kimmy in fourth, Pikachu in fifth, Jobbo's teammate Croaky in P6, Heated in P7, Thomas in P8, AJ Nolan only ninth for the Alpine team, who obviously are leading the overall constructors, and Koyi in P10. So, considering the standings, Jobbo now officially leads Division 3. 14 points from the retired Trappy. Well, not really retired, promoted, you should say. Eslaham, though, really gaining. Is now on 100 points, bang on. Luca B on 79, Adrian Nolan on 76. Jam stays on 50 due to not participating at the Japanese Grand Prix. Alpha Heated gets up to 48 points, some Pikachu on 41. So the AMS drivers really showing some good performances recently. TD Thomas in P9 from FG Yolki. Considering the team standings, it was Hubs on top a couple of weeks ago, but now Alpha Tauri lead from Williams, so that's definitely very, very close because it seems like Esalaham has the edge on Jobbo in the last couple of rounds. But yeah, Croaky and Jobbo, two very consistent drivers, and I think definitely have to keep an eye out for. Aston Martin then technically best of the rest from Alfa Romeo and Mercedes. Those teams, those three are within 6 points, so that's very, very close. Alpine then on 95, so that's a really tough division for the constructors leaders, considering the overall points. McLaren then 8th, Red Bull in 9th, and Ferrari only in 10th. Clearly off pace here. So, what's your thoughts here, Jim? You think Jobbo has a good chance compared to probably quicker drives compared to Ham and Jam, or is it going to be a very tough ride come the end of the season?
Well, it pains me to say this, every inch of my body, but Jobbo, he's on really good form at the moment, across everything he's competing in. He just completed TAR assist threes and he got himself a P4. He's getting podiums and wins in the partner league BBC, and at the moment he's leading Div 3. Even if drivers are quicker than him, it just seems like he can always deliver a result just to keep them at bay, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
He's probably one of the most informed drivers I've seen currently, in like not the sharpest end of all league racing or esports or whatever, but in my circle anyway, he seems to be in excellent form, and it's going to be hard for these lot to keep up with him. I think he's not the best qualifier, even though he just got his first pole position. He always struggles a lot there, but in the race, I mean, it says it all in the standings. He's leading. Well, I mean, technically, you can see he's leading 28 points. The car behind, if Chappie's been moved up. He's going to be a hard one to beat for the rest of this grid. If I could race into Div 3, I think I could absolutely batter him.
Well, I'll just leave that there. The only thing I can say is that Jobbo's qualies haven't really been the best. Considering our great Formula One companion app, Jobbo has also gained the most positions in Division 3 with a cheeky little number of 45, which is currently 30 more gained positions than the next driver. So you could technically say that his quali probably isn't top end. But I mean, as long as he makes it up in the races, that's fine. And to be honest, getting pole and winning the race does sound quite boring compared to qualifying 13th and then winning by a mile. So he's keeping it consistent, which is good, as said, because SLR Ham and SLR Jam are SLR main drivers. So they definitely can perform and will perform, especially Ham, with 2 wins in a row now after having a DNF at Abu Dhabi because Jobbo took him out during the safety car. Was decent, to be fair, but was an interesting situation on stream. So watch that back. You can bully him all the way with that one. And let's go over to Division 4. Let's go down. This is going quick today. In Division 4, we almost had a full grid, 18 people. Only the 2 Mercedes drivers didn't race this time. And finally, after 4 times he finished second, he had a quali ban at Japan. He started, I believe, 17th or 15th, somewhere around that. There were a couple of quali bans. He wins at Japan. Jacob Brown in the AlphaTauri is victorious from Jakob KF22, or as our Division 4 commentator Adam would say, the Speedy Swede, with Jamie Hobbs in third, the championship leader, Ronnie in fourth after getting pole position in wet interconditions, Craig Mick in P5, Andrew in P6, despite a lack of controller vibrations, which is quite remarkable at Japan, Rex in P7, Tweak in P8, Raven West in P9, and Maldonado in P10. So, considering driver standings, ladies and gentlemen, we have a Division 4 championship going on again. Hobbs is leading with 128 points, Jacob Brown on 99, Rex on 83.5, and Ronnie on 75.5. So those 4 drivers really performing recently. Andrew somehow still in P5 with 63, so he's keeping it consistent, that's for sure. Ern on 54, Lewis on 53, Mike on 52.5, so those 3 are really, really close. Dobby still on 43, so he's had a rough time after even winning a race at the beginning of the season. And then Jakob with 37 points, getting into the top 10. Team standings, of course, it's Ferrari leading, 211 points for them, but Jacob Brown and Craig Mick are really doing well for AlphaTauri. They're now on 180 points. McLaren then on 167 and Williams on 137. Only 1 point split between Aston Martin and Alpine. Then we've got Haas, Alfa Romeo, Red Bull, and Mercedes rounding off the table. And the only thing before I hand it over to Jim is Hobbs has not even won a single race yet and leads the championship after 11 rounds. So he shows B-Ford how it works, doesn't he?
Yeah. I just think it doesn't matter if you don't win races. If you're going to be in a championship fight, it's about the final day and how many points you have on the board. It doesn't matter how you get there. If your rivals are winning but then DNFing the next race, you're going to have a net gain all of the time. And I think Hobbs proves that. But with Jacob Brown winning the last race and picking up lots of P2s so far, he's definitely got it cut out for him. But The two Ferraris bring home lots of points. They're topping the team standings at the moment by a decent chunk over AlphaTauri. They've got to keep that going. But I think if Hops gets placed under pressure from Jacob Brown, if he can convert another win or two down the line, he's going to be under some serious pressure. So he's got to start picking up the pace, I think, for maybe some higher positions, maybe a race win or two.
Definitely, and as you said, Jacob Brown is the only AlphaTauri up there for now, while Ferrari got Hobbs and Rex up there. What do you think? Is it better if you just have like AlphaTauri, one driver up there and the other one just trying to get a couple points here and there and potentially help out, or actually have two Ferraris up there? But from my perspective, it just seems like it could be also quite a bit of a danger for Ferrari because both of them still have a big chance on winning a title, and especially as a perspective from Rex, it probably for him isn't the right thing to help his teammate out, even if it's come the next 3-4 races, because it could actually hurt his championship, and it hurts even more if Hobbs in the end doesn't win out.
Well, with that, I have to disagree. I think if you have two drivers up there, all you need is good coordination. I mean, in my experience, I've been in a lot of leagues where I've had teammates around the same positions as me, and I think it's kind of irrelevant depending where you are in the standings. If you want to scrap over it and take each other out, you can do a Rosberg and Hamilton, go for it. But in my most recent race, I let my teammate by, who is in a fight with me, because he just had better strategy. You have to just think about the team, I think, sometimes, or not, if you want to be selfish. I mean, if you screw around with your teammate, you start hitting each other, you start falling out. It's just not going to go well for you. It'll cause friction, and it'll cause a race to become a lot more difficult. If you're having to run one-legged, you might not set up toes and stuff in qualifying if you're struggling. And you might not be able to work together to make overtakes and defenses to just improve the overall team performance. You have to work with your teammate regardless of your position, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point, and said only time will tell. And we also got Ronnie back there, so maybe at the end the McLaren wins, and we're all looking quite silly. So next up, Division 5. This week it was a debutant of Giuseppe picking up his maiden race win in GRL, from Heike in second and Maka in third. So two potential championship contenders in Division 5 on the podium as well. Batsy finishing in fourth, Old Sport in P5, Boosted RB in P6. So double top six finish for Williams. Paloma finishing in seventh in front of Duncan, Triangular Lemon, who was leading the championship before the Japanese Grand Prix, and Tiras Wolfie, also another debutant, picking up a single point with a P10 finish. So, considering the driver standings, Maka now takes the championship lead once more. He leads 10 points from Triangular Lemon, and it seems like Heike is now also very interested in the championship battle. So that's definitely good for the Aston Martin team. Boosted RB is now up into fourth from Mashallah, J Street, and Batsy. So despite not a top season for Alfa Romeo and the drivers, it seems like in the constructors they're doing quite well. Mexican Bob in P8 with Gaza Buchanan in P9 and Jappers in P10. Considering the Constructors' Championship, McLaren still leads by quite a margin due to Alpine obviously losing their top driver of Jakob to the Division 4 campaign. Aston Martin then in P3 on 139, Alfa Romeo on 134, Williams on 122, Red Bull on 115, and AlphaTauri in 103. So definitely a very, very close Constructors' battle here. Haas then in P8 on 90 points, Ferrari on 65, and Mercedes running off the table on 39 points. And this week for Division 5, we've got a special guest, which is not anymore your championship leader, Triangular Lemon. So welcome to this week's podcast.
Hi, thank you. No need to rub it in. We'll be back next week. Don't worry.
Sounds
Don't you
good.
dare worry.
I mean, you had a great weekend at Miami. Let's talk about this first. That to be honest, came a little bit out of nowhere, picking up the drive of the weekend as well. Did you change anything before Miami, or was that just pure vibes?
Yeah, pure vibes. It's called a secret thing called watching Love Island through the entire race. Yeah, watched 5 episodes, caught up, perfect. Didn't need to focus on anything. I was just driving, listening up. It was great. Led every single lap. I was very happy. Really good performance for me. Didn't expect it to do too great. It was on the rails for a lot of it, but very happy.
Yeah, I mean, was basically a hat trick. And then, as said, the drive of the weekend as well was the cherry on the cake. So yeah, was great glory that day, but quite a drop down again this week. As you said, I think in chat, you expected to be back to normal quali pace.
Yeah,
Um,
back to my regular thing, and it was.
Yeah, I mean, Mac only finished P3. I say only, but it could have gotten a lot worse if Heike and Beastie weren't there.
Mm.
And considering since he rejoined the race at Miami, it seems like he's probably on another level, at least from our watch. Do you think he has the edge, and you just need to absolutely focus on the opportunities you can get, or do you think you quite level with him?
I don't think I'm near. I think I'm very lucky to be where I am at the minute. Honestly, most people in that division are quicker than me. I think I'm possibly better at, making my moves, taking opportunities than most, and also better at maybe defending. But I need a lot of luck to get into those opportunities because I just don't believe I have the pace compared to them. But you know what? We've used what we've had right now well. We used our opportunities well, and it's led me to P2 in the championship, which is, honestly a miracle considering how slow I've been. It's just a shame in the last in Hungary and in Japan. I've also decided just to be inconsistent as well, which has led to me now falling from first to second.
Yeah, and if I'm not completely wrong, you also joined technically mid-season, so you could have gotten way more points to your tally. So definitely a good season so far and helping out McLaren. Also, I believe a new teammate now at McLaren. So the constructors are definitely also championship that can be the focus on. And finally, I mean, in the last two races, it seems like Heike and Aston Martin is really pushing towards you two. With him basically being level points with Maka and yourself, do you think making it a possible 3v fight that could either help you or hurt you? Because there are potential closer fights and on-track battles that could become a factor here.
I think everyone really does their own race. I don't think I've seen Maka on track once in all of our races. I see Heike a lot. I battle Heike quite a fair bit because he'll often have maybe a slight spin and then always be trying to get past me. But as I said, I can defend pretty well. We'll see that. But I really I don't battle with anyone. I just kind of keep to my own race and will maybe take home a podium. I've got very lucky to just kind of cruise my way into P3s and P2s. Had a really good race in at the sprint, which is obviously handy. Gives me my massive bonus points. But yeah, really, I don't think more people being in the challenge for points is more difficult for me. I think the most hard thing will really be if people can actually stay consistent. If they can, then I'll be in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, let's hope they don't.
Yes.
But because it really makes it interesting in the championship, because Betsy is P7 and is only 40 points off you in second, so makes it definitely very interesting. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it summed up. Thank you for coming on for us for the podcast. I mean, Division 5 definitely interesting season. Also streamed by CMP official, so tune in for that. That's definitely some action, and I can proudly say from what I've seen, definitely one of our cleanest divisions and some respectful racing there. So yeah, thank you for everyone being part of Division 5, and we now switch over to Division 6. So, coming over to Division 6, well, the last couple of weeks it was quite boring because it is Echo who takes glory, P1, pole, fastest lap all the time. It's not this time because it was a Chicken Rosary who picked up the race win. a TD driver this time. I think actually the first time a TD driver picks up a GRL race win. Simon Deff in P2, one of the joiners from BBC. The attacks in P3. J-Tilp in P4 with Callum Ladler in P5. So once again, a solid couple of points for Aston Martin here. Championship leader Echo only on P6. Dubs Game in P7, 10th Cannon in P8. So the race winner from Hungary not having the best of races, only finishing 8th. 2-1 LXR in P9 and Ross Greenhorn in P10. Well, considering the driver standings, I can already tell you it's still quite boring. Echo still leads by just over 50 points to Azrael and 10th Cannon behind. And then we've got the battle for best of the rest between Ali, Callum Ludlow, Panda, Attacks, J-Tilp, and many, many more. So let's switch over to the actual championship in here, which is the Constructors. And it's very, very close between 5 teams, or at least close between 1 and 5th, because we've got Haas on 193, leading only 4 points from Mercedes on 189. So the Silver Arrows definitely gained with the second place finish of Simon. Alpine on 176 points. Aston Martin on 149 and Alfa Romeo on 124, with Alpha Tauri and Williams fighting it out for P6, and Red Bull, Ferrari and McLaren clearly down there, finishing off that table. And I'll switch over to Jim now, because exactly now he's absolutely clueless on who is where in this division.
I mean, from the standings, seems like Echo is cooking. Echo is cooking some.
That's F1
seriously.
knowledge. That's pure F1 knowledge.
That is pinnacle, mate. No, but who did you say won the last round?
Chicken Rosary. He's not even in the top 10 yet. It was his first points, and it was fastest lap. No, it was pole and race win. 26 points he's on.
Wow. I mean, I do know Chicken Rosary, actually. He did previously race in BBC.
Yeah, I remember that actually. Yeah.
But he did leave spontaneously, giving up his seat. So I'm not sure what that was about. But anyways, he does.
He did a no qual lap up Bahrain in BBC, and then suddenly came up with a P5. So that's the only thing I remember from him in BBC. Not much more.
He's definitely got good laps in him. I mean, I've commentated over lots of races with him in. If he can keep that up, he can start making his way into the top half of the table. As for Simon Deff, I think he's a reserve from what I can see in the driver's standings.
He's not anymore. He's now Mercedes full-time driver. Yeah, he's replacing Azrael in second in the championship, because
okay.
So good couple of races from him so far.
Yeah, I know Simon obviously quite well from BBC, and he is on excellent form. He's really improved since the last game where he joined us, probably about 9-10 months ago. He was very off the pace, but now he's started to pick it up. He's recently done a good race, making his way from P20 to the top half of the field in the partner league. So if he's proving it in GRL as well, I can imagine him starting to find some form. If he's got P2, I'm sure he can pick up a race win or two potentially, climbing his way back through the field. But I mean, if you look at Echo's points haul, it's just insane. I mean, they're sat like 50 plus points, 57 points ahead of Azrael. It's a long gap. He's definitely cooking something foul. And if Azrael has any hope of chasing Echo down, they're going to have to find some excellent form, start winning a lot of races, and really start to put pressure on Echo. But I mean,
considering his race results, it's just amazing this season. From round 1 onwards, we had Echo in P3 at Silverstone, then actually not in the points, I believe, at Singapore. Probably ended his race in a wall there. P2 at Mexico, P2 at Belgium, P2 at Portugal, P1 at Spain, P4 at Austria, P4 at Abu Dhabi, P2 at Hungary, P1 at Miami, and now P6 in Japan. So it's actually in bad form.
But that makes no sense at all. I mean, I was looking back at it. I was just after I said that, I was thinking, what? He hasn't gained any points in quite some time. Actually, he's just been stuck on 170 for about 2 or 3 rounds, but he's found another 8 points, which I think with the point system that is a P6 in his last round.
Yeah, that's just the standings have been updated twice a week, so that's why he was twice on 170 points. That's just completely the same table.
Oh, fair enough. I mean, even with his bad form, he's still so far ahead of everyone else.
Yeah, he was Division 3 last season, so I guess he was a bit angry seeing himself in Division 6. But yeah, he's definitely proving his pace. He only finished on the podium in an F2 race. I'll come to that later. But he definitely was doing well. And yeah, I mean, as said, let's hope he has a couple of not too good races to make it a bit more interesting again. It's just a problem, this division is quite split. But now let's switch over to the final of one division. It is Division 7. And the 4th time in a row it was a Ferrari. No, sorry, the 3rd time in a row. The 3rd time in a row it was a Ferrari picking up P1, and it was It's Bright for his 4th race win of the season. So now I'm slightly lacking Charles Leclerc pictures, I have to say. Matthew picking up a 2nd place for Mercedes. Championship leader Kieran in P3. Brown's back in P4. Spud Racing in P5. McMassey, the race win of Miami in P6, Energy Home in P7, Drizzy in P8, Sadman in P9, and the Clown is in P10. Driver standings. Kieran still leads by just over 40 points from It's Bright, who's on 114.5 and completely extracts the space in that bracket of the standings. McMassey in 3rd on 77 points. So the Ferraris, like in Division 4, really trying to pick up as many points together and maybe pick up a drivers championship with it as well. Matthew on 74.5, Clips got on 74, so it's really close up there. And then we've got the huge gap for best of the rest. Then we've got Drizzy, Marley, Wogasm, Browns the Buns, and Spud Racing. And as said, it's a two-way fight in the constructors. McLaren still lead by 10 points from Ferrari. 241 and 231. Then we've got Aston Martin with an 80-point deficit compared to the 2nd place with 151 points. Mercedes on 108, and then we've got Red Bull, Haas, Alfa Romeo, Alfa Tauri on 59, Alpine on 50, and Williams on 48. So as Adam Reid would say, they're fighting between themselves for the wooden spoon. Division 7. Jim, what do you make of it? You know all of them, don't you?
Oh yeah, mate. I'm best friends with every single driver in this division. No, I mean, I'm just been looking at the race results. It seems Kieran's only been outside of the top 10 once the entire season, and I think that's a testament to his current position. He's got the 2 Ferraris chasing him down. But with that gap, they're going to have to have a lot in them. They're going to have to really start. One of them's going to have to start straight lining him, I think, to make sure he doesn't keep extending. Because from what it seems, Kieran picking up a P3 in the Japan, Miami, Hungary, picked up a win at Abu Dhabi, a P2 at Spain, a wait, what? The 2 posters for Spain. I'm very confused. Anyways, I'm not sure what that is. But Portugal, he wasn't there. That's the only time he wasn't in the top 10. A P5 at Belgium, a P4 at Mexico, P7 at Singapore, and in the first round he picked P2. So it's safe to say he is cooking, and those two Ferraris, I mean, it's going to be very, very difficult indeed to start bridging the gap. I mean, It's Bright did claw back a couple of points, probably about 10 points if memory serves with the point system. It'd probably be about 10 points. But you're going to have to keep doing that for the rest of the season to even get remotely close to Kieran. Obviously, there are 10 more rounds. You're going to have to do a lot, I think, or Kieran's really going to have to bottle it for the rest to catch up.
The consistency is definitely helping Kieran out. You probably could compare him the best to Jobbo. He's always there or thereabout, which is just keeping the gap alive. Because over the last 2 rounds, it seems like It's Bright is technically quicker, by quite a margin. But he just, like in Abu Dhabi, he came off a race win at Austria, I believe, and then just retired mid-race, which didn't help his cause. And those are the races that Kieran really needs to make count. And he probably will hope that the two Ferraris are taking points off each other, because McMassey, for example, winning at Miami, definitely would have been better if It's Bright won for the team in the drivers. And it wouldn't have mattered really in the team standings. But Division 7 is basically a Russian roulette weekly. Whoever comes out on top, despite Kieran, Matthew, It's Bright, and McMassey in the last couple of weeks really performing well. But now, enough of that. Let's switch over to the best division we ever had here, which is Formula 2. So that was an interesting week. It was Japan, surprise, surprise. In qualifying, we had Blade picking up pole by 5.5 tenths, so that was enjoyable for everyone behind. Myself had him in second. Gibson disqualifying himself. Dara bottling quali. No surprise there either. Distant Bard in third. And yeah, that's pretty much quali summed up. Then in the sprint race, Dara started pole, created a 9-second gap, but he still didn't win because Blade decided to drive quick. He was cooking, let's say. He passed a couple of laps to go. And yeah, it was a sprint race win for Blade from Darren second. Distant Bard in third, from me in fourth, because I was washed in that sprint race as well. Gibson, I believe P5 if I'm not completely wrong. Nathan was there. So then over to the feature race. Top two in the championship. No, first and third, with Blade in first and me in third. Going into the first corner, we were on a party together, like the top group of drivers always are. And he spun me around, so that was great. And then we had 4 wide, I believe, in the first sector on lap 1 in Suzuka. That was interesting to watch for sure. But in the end, it was a very, very interesting race because Blade won by 20 seconds. Echo picked up second place on his debut in F2 with Distant Bard in third, myself in fourth, Gibson in fifth, and Dara in P6. Considering the championship now, which Jim obviously cannot see because I haven't updated it yet, is that Blade still leads by around 20 points from Dara and myself. I'm on the 10 points off, and then we've got Gibson and Distant Bard, who are already around 25 points off, with then best of the rest closely matched between around 20 drivers. F2, it's a difficult one, but currently it seems like Blade does it have all under his control, doesn't he?
I mean, I can't see the standings, but I will trust your judgment. I can see. I can't see the race results either. I'm not sure. I'm not really sure what's actually going on.
Because this part is it's well managed all by me, so blame me. Still on the companion app. So,
I mean, they'll probably be up on screen right now. Yeah, this is great. This part, that's pretty good. But these lot down here, not so great. The last race, the form from this driver was great. And this person needs to keep cooking. I really hope you zoom in on all the parts. If you
yeah,
do edit it, zoom in on whatever necessary.
I'll put it exactly in like that. Absolutely.
Oh no, the poor F2 channels neglected.
Well,
Oh no.
told you, Blade is doing well. Blade is cooking. That's good.
Respect.
The other, like Dara, Gibson, Bard, myself, yeah, all within like 20 points as well. And then we've got Nathan, best of the rest, on 58, and Valkyrie on 55. Yeah, it's just so mixed up because everyone can actually take part in F2, so you actually don't know who to face. Yeah, and the standing's actually very interesting because I've just realized that IFIAD and E.T. Wilson are actually on -2 points. I don't know how they've managed that, but
Respect.
I mean, well, that's that. I need to figure that out. I mean, I knew that Wilson was bad, but not that bad. But yeah, I think that's this week's podcast summed up. Dara will be back next week for the Australian Grand Prix podcast, which will be very interesting. He won't be here for the Division 1 race, and I can honorably say that considering the Division 1 race, you'll be guided through all the action by the man next to me. So
Yes.
he's going to be in control of our Division 1 Twitch, our main Twitch. So be prepared that something might not work, but hopefully works. But yeah, Jim, what you're looking forward to the most for the next Grand Prix, considering Division 1 to finish off the podcast?
To be honest, a lot of the excitement for me is just actually lead commentating a GRL race. The last time I lead commentated any race was the tier I hadn't done any commentating in tier 2, when I solo commented. But I'm looking forward to just seeing how these drivers can get on. I think if Sora can cook once again, it will be a bit of a snore fest for me. So I'm hoping for a Sora bottle. No offense, to Sora or anything.
You might be good on that one because if I'm not fully wrong, I think Sora said he hasn't done a single lap or just a low amount of laps at Australia this game yet. So that could probably help out. I mean, it probably will end up as one of the races where neither of the championship contenders qualify in the top 5 because 3 of them I know for a fact don't have really good quali positions. Just stating the fact, Mr. Beeford only has plus 53 game positions this season. That says it all, pretty much. While Mr. Bottle Job as UXK Rage has minus 46.
Oh my god! How can one person be that bad in the race?
I mean, as said, to finish it off, I just have to state it here. Rage has lost 4 races from leading them all back to back. So if you want to watch the next one, tune in for Division 1 on Monday, because he will definitely prove it again once more, like he always does. But yeah, I think that's this podcast perfectly summed up. Thanks to Jim for hopping in for Dara. Definitely was more enjoyable than ever.
Hold that, Dara. Hold. Oh no.
No, obviously, as said, he will be back next week, so that's gonna be another podcast with him. So see you all very soon, and obviously good luck to Jim as lead commentator for Division 1, and you're in the races, and see you soon. Goodbye.